President Biden and his administration has had very reckless behavior. They have been refusing to negotiate with Speaker McCarthy and myself about what are the steps, what are the solutions to increase the debt limit, but also address the fiscal insanity. The American people are demanding fiscal accountability in government, and they don't want a blank check of just more spending in Washington. House Republicans are willing and able to move ahead on our own.
That was House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith on this program earlier this week, slamming President Biden over the debt ceiling and the unwillingness to come to the table. Chairman of the Republican Study Committee, Kevin Hern, released a statement saying that the GOP's top priority should be holding a debt ceiling vote before the end of April. Joining me right now is Wisconsin Congressman, member of the House Financial Services Committee, Scott Fitzgerald. Congressman, what do you think about the end of April? Will that happen?
Well, I think we've got to be careful not to begin to start setting false deadlines for ourselves. There's been very productive discussions within the Republican conference, and we have to make sure that Speaker McCarthy has the ability to be nimble and go in there and negotiate in good faith once, if and when the White House steps up and starts to get serious about the whole issue.
Well, I mean, next week is expected to really see the volume raise on this issue when you and your colleagues come back from recess. What have you heard from the White House in terms of coming to the table, putting in some standards in place in terms of spending?
We've heard nothing from the White House, Maria.
Okay.
It's all been internal discussions within the Republican conference. You got to remember, there's a lot of members that have never been through this discussion or debate before. So I think there was a learning curve early on, trying to work with members to understand just exactly what we're up against. And like I said, I mean, I think no member or any one of the caucuses within the Republican caucus should kind of set that artificial deadline. Let's let the speaker work through this internally, get members in a good place, and we'll sit back and wait for the White House because we have no other option at this point.
So you said that there's a good conversation going on within the GOP. What are the ideas in terms of reining in spending?
Certainly reduction in spending, just change the trajectory overall from where we've been. I mean, continually increasing spending for the last 20 years is unacceptable. And my colleague Jason Smith has been doing a good job, I think, of making the case to members that there are certain things that can be done just to move us in a different direction. So that's been kind of the overreaching goal so far.
Yeah.
And a lot of members are becoming more comfortable and familiar, I think, with what we should be working on and where we should be going. So it seems like a short fuse, but to be honest with you, I mean, I like where we're at right now.
Lee Carter.
So, Congressman, I saw a headline from 12 years ago that almost mirrored exactly what's happening today. It was saying, you know, the debt ceiling, we're not getting to a deal, everything's getting wavered, there's a crisis ahead, and yet here we are 12 years later with the same exact problem. The big difference being that we're not having conversations and negotiations. 7 in 10 Americans want to see us compromise in government. 65% of Americans are ready to raise the retirement age for people starting now in their 20s. How do you get people to compromise, and how do you get people to the conversation when you can't even get to the table?
Well, I think that the U.S. Senate plays a role in this too, right? I mean, if the majority in the House is willing to sit down at the table with the White House and work towards a product that makes sense, right? And when that starts, I think certainly Chuck Schumer and the U.S. Senate is going to be paying attention and will be kind of brought into that entire discussion. That's the uniqueness of, I think, what we see right now is that the White House and Speaker McCarthy can put together a package that's going to, I don't know how else to say it, but drag the U.S. Senate into this.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see kind of where it goes from that point.
Well, all of this as the economy is slowing and oil prices are rising. Gasoline now up, the national average getting closer to $4 a gallon at $3.64 this morning. We've got a new poll from Monmouth University finding that more than half of the country believes middle-class families have not benefited from President Biden's policies. Congressman, are you expecting a recession this year?
You know, I am. I'm becoming less and less optimistic that we're going to be able to avoid that. I don't know how significant it's going to be, but, you know, you just said with the price of gasoline jumping almost 60 cents in my district, and as I travel across the U.S., you can see an even more significant increase in some other states. I mean, that's why H.R. 1 was so important. We wanted to kind of lay down a marker on how do we get America back to energy independence as it was under President Trump. This has become probably the most significant bill that the House will pass as we continue to see the economy become sluggish and with the price of energy continue to increase.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria.
All right, Scott Fitzgerald joining us.